When Karen moved into our neighborhood, she carried herself with an air of superiority that was hard to ignore. From the very first HOA meeting she attended, she had an opinion about everything. Whether it was the color of mailboxes, the placement of recycling bins, or how often lawns should be mowed, Karen inserted herself like she was the president of the entire community. The rest of us usually just nodded politely. After all, some neighbors are just like that, always needing to be heard. The issue that sparked our conflict began in the most mundane way. Our HOA had strict rules about garbage cans. They had to be placed on the curb no earlier than 6 p.m. the night before collection, and brought back in no later than 9 a.m. the next day. I knew the rules well, because the HOA fined me 2 years ago for accidentally leaving mine out too long while I was traveling. Since then, I'd been extra cautious, and yes, I reminded others too. One Thursday evening, I noticed Karen had dragged her bins out around 2 p.m. Not a big deal, but technically against the rules. I mentioned it in passing when I saw her. "Hey, Karen," I said lightly. "Just a heads up, the HOA can be sticklers about trash can timing. I learned that the hard way." She gave me a tight smile. "Oh please. You're overreacting. They don't care unless it's something major." I shrugged. "Just saying. They fined me once, and it wasn't cheap." Karen laughed. "Well, maybe they didn't like you. I'll be fine." Her dismissive tone irked me, but I let it go. Over the next few weeks, though, I noticed a pattern. Karen constantly put her bins out early, left them out late, and even parked her car overnight on the street, which was another violation. Whenever I brought it up casually, she rolled her eyes and accused me of being dramatic. "Honestly," she said one morning, sipping her coffee in the driveway, "you act like this HOA thing is life or death. They're just guidelines, not actual laws." I could feel my jaw tighten, but I forced a smile. "They're rules, Karen. And trust me, they will enforce them." She waved her hand dismissively. "I've lived in 3 different HOAs. They bark, but they don't bite. You worry too much." Her confidence was almost convincing, but deep down I knew better. These rules weren't suggestions, they were binding agreements we all signed. Still, Karen seemed determined to test every boundary. I kept thinking, it's only a matter of time before she finds out the hard way. And, as fate would have it, that day came sooner than either of us expected. It started small, as these things usually do. At first, Karen received a friendly reminder letter from the HOA about her trash can violations. Most people, after getting that notice, would quickly change their habits. But not Karen. She waved the letter around in front of me like it was some kind of joke. "Look at this," she scoffed. "They actually wasted paper to tell me to bring my trash cans in earlier. Unbelievable. Don't. They have bigger problems to worry about." I bit my tongue, though I wanted to remind her that this was exactly what I had warned her about. Instead, I kept my tone neutral. "It's a warning. If you ignore it, they'll escalate." Karen smirked. "Escalate? What are they going to do, call the trash police?" "Please. I'll put my cans out whenever I want." Her arrogance was almost impressive. But as the weeks rolled on, her disregard for the rules became more noticeable. She left lawn tools scattered in her front yard, hosted late-night gatherings that violated the noise policy, and parked her SUV partially on the sidewalk, blocking pedestrians. Neighbors began murmuring. A few even approached me, knowing I had tried to warn her. "Can you talk to her?" Mrs. Grant from across the street asked. "It's starting to get disruptive." I sighed. "I've tried, but she doesn't listen. She thinks the HOA won't actually enforce anything." Mrs. Grant frowned. "Well, she's about to find out." Sure enough, the next month, Karen got another letter. This one wasn't a friendly reminder, it was an official notice of violation, complete with a list of her infractions, and a warning that fines would follow if she didn't comply. She stormed over to my house the day she received it. "Can you believe this?" she shouted, waving the letter like it was evidence of a crime. "They're harassing me. Look at this list: trash cans, noise, parking. This is ridiculous." I stayed calm. "Karen, you signed the same HOA agreement we all did. These aren't new rules. They're just enforcing what's already in place." Her face turned red. "You're enjoying this, aren't you? You've been waiting to see me get in trouble." I shook my head. "Not at all. I just don't want to see you fined. That's all." She scoffed. "Overreacting again. Honestly, you should mind your own business." I wanted to tell her that once the HOA had their eye on you, they didn't let up. But I didn't. At that point, nothing I said would matter. What Karen didn't realize was that the HOA board was already fed up. And when they acted decisively. The letter arrived on a Tuesday afternoon. Karen was outside when she checked her mailbox. And I could tell instantly something was wrong. She tore open the envelope, scanned the contents, and her face drained of color. "Oh, you've got to be kidding me," she muttered. Then louder, $500. I tried not to look too curious. But she stomped across the street toward me, waving the paper like a battle flag. "They fined me. $500. For what? Trash cans. Parking. Noise. This is absurd." I raised an eyebrow. "Let me see." Reluctantly, she handed me the letter. It was all there, clear as day. $500 for repeated violations, specifically. Trash cans left out too long and parking violations. The board even included time-stamped photos as proof. "They don't mess around," I said quietly. Karen's eyes widened in disbelief. "But, it's just trash cans. This is robbery." "It's the rules," I reminded her gently. "We all agreed to them. They're strict because otherwise people stop following them. And then the neighborhood falls apart." She glared at me like I was somehow responsible. "You're enjoying this, aren't you? Admit it, you wanted this to happen." I shook my head. "No, Karen. But I did try to warn you. Remember? You said I was overreacting." Her mouth tightened into a thin line. She muttered something under her breath before storming back to her house. Over the next few days, she complained loudly to anyone who would listen. She accused the HOA of targeting her unfairly, of singling her out, even of conspiring with me against her. But the truth was simple: the HOA didn't care about grudges. They cared about compliance. Some neighbors sympathized, but most just shrugged. She brought it on herself. Mr. Lewis said when I bumped into him on my morning walk. They gave her plenty of warnings. Karen tried appealing the fine. But at the next HOA meeting, her case was swiftly denied. The board explained that multiple notices had been issued and ignored, leaving them no choice but to enforce the fine. She was furious. "This whole system is corrupt," she shouted in the meeting. "You're all just power-hungry busybodies." The president of the board, a calm older man named Harold, simply replied, "Miss Bennett, you agreed to these terms when you moved in. This is not about power. It's about fairness and maintaining the community." By the end of the meeting, it was clear Karen had lost. The $500 fine stood. And just like that, the woman who once called me dramatic realized I hadn't been overreacting at all. After the fine, something in Karen shifted. For a while, she sulked. She avoided eye contact with neighbors, slammed her car door a little harder than usual, and kept her curtains drawn more often. The confident, dismissive woman who once laughed at HOA rules now seemed defeated. I almost felt sorry for her, almost. A week later, she knocked on my door. When I opened it, she looked exhausted. "Can we talk?" she asked softly. I nodded and invited her in. She sat at my kitchen table, fiddling with her coffee cup before finally speaking. "I owe you an apology," she said. "You were right. I thought the rules were flexible. I thought the HOA wouldn't actually follow through. But they did. And now I'm out $500. I gave her a sympathetic smile. It's not about being right, Karen. It's about understanding how this community works. They enforce the rules because if they don't, people stop caring and everything spirals. She sighed. I guess I didn't take it seriously. Where I lived before, the HOA barely lifted a finger. This one. She trailed off, shaking her head. They're ruthless. Not ruthless, I corrected. Just strict. It keeps the neighborhood nice. That's why property values stay high. That's why people want to live here. For once, she didn't argue. Instead, she nodded. Lesson learned. I'll follow the rules from now on. And to her credit, she did. The trash cans were placed exactly at 6 p.m. and brought in by 9 a.m. sharp. Her car was always in the driveway. No more late-night parties, no more scattered lawn tools. It was as if the $500 fine had transformed her overnight. Neighbors noticed too. She's finally behaving, Mrs. Grant whispered to me one morning with a smirk. But Karen's humility came at a cost. She never regained the same authority she once tried to exert. At meetings, she sat quietly, rarely offering an opinion. When she did speak, people listened politely but without the deference she seemed to crave. It was ironic. She had mocked me for caring about the rules, calling me dramatic and overreactive. Yet it was only after experiencing the full weight of the HOA's enforcement that she realized just how serious it all was. As for me, I didn't rub it in. I didn't need to. The fine itself had said everything I could have ever said. Sometimes, the best lessons come with a price tag. And for Karen, that price was exactly $500.